The Manhattan Project was a highly classified research and development effort during World War II. It was primarily led by the United States, with support from the United Kingdom and Canada. The project's main goal was to develop functional atomic weapons. This was driven by the urgent need to produce these weapons before Nazi Germany. By mid-1945, the US shifted its focus to Japan after the end of the war in Europe. Invasion plans for the Japanese home islands were projected to result in very high casualties. These projections included extremely high casualty estimates for both Allied and Japanese forces. The anticipated high casualties led to the consideration of alternative strategies. These alternative strategies were explored to minimize losses on both sides. President Truman faced the critical decision of whether to use the atomic bomb. Senior officials advised using the bomb to quickly force Japan's surrender. The recommendation included demonstrating US power on the global stage. A key consideration was projecting strength, particularly towards the Soviet Union. The Potsdam Declaration called for Japan's unconditional surrender during World War II. Japan's initial response was mokusatsu, meaning to withhold comment. This response was interpreted by the Allied forces as a rejection of the declaration. The perceived rejection of the Potsdam Declaration led to the use of atomic bombs on Japan. On the 6th of August 1945, a significant event occurred at Tinian Island Airfield. The B-29 bomber, Enola Gay, piloted by Colonel Paul Tibbets, took off from this location. The Enola Gay carried the Little Boy bomb. The Little Boy bomb was a gun-type uranium weapon. The destination of this flight was Hiroshima, Japan. On the 6th of August 1945, at 8:15 a.m., the atomic bomb Little Boy was deployed over Hiroshima. Hiroshima was a significant military and industrial hub for Japan during World War II. The bomb was dropped from an altitude intended to maximize its destructive impact. It detonated at a height of 1,900 feet, 580 meters, above the city. This aerial burst strategy was designed to create widespread blast and thermal damage. The detonation of Little Boy caused an instantaneous, intensely bright flash. This was accompanied by a surge of extreme heat radiating outward from the epicenter. The intense heat immediately incinerated all matter within a 1-mile radius of the blast. A powerful shock wave was generated by the rapid expansion of superheated air. This shock wave propagated outwards, exerting immense pressure on surrounding structures. The force of the shock wave obliterated approximately 70% of the buildings in Hiroshima. The Hiroshima bombing caused immense devastation and loss of life. Initial estimates indicate between 70,000 and 80,000 immediate fatalities. Tens of thousands more sustained injuries from the blast and subsequent effects. The city was contaminated with radioactive fallout, a phenomenon known as black rain. This environmental contamination compounded the immediate suffering and long-term health risks. Following the Hiroshima bombing, the United States awaited Japan's official response. The Japanese government was in a state of disarray and shock after the devastation. Communication and decision-making processes were severely hampered. Initial reports painted a grim picture of the unprecedented destruction. Some Japanese military leaders expressed doubt that the US had more atomic weapons. This skepticism influenced their initial considerations regarding surrender or continued resistance. On the 8th of August 1945, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan. Simultaneously, Soviet forces initiated an invasion of Manchuria. This military action significantly increased the pressure on Japan. The invasion created a new front in the ongoing conflict. The intensified pressure contributed to Japan's eventual decision to surrender. On the 9th of August, 1945, Nagasaki was the target of a nuclear attack. The B-29 bomber Boxcar, piloted by Major Charles Sweeney, carried the atomic bomb. The bomb, named Fat Man, was an implosion-type plutonium weapon. Nagasaki was a secondary target after Kokura was obscured by cloud cover. The atomic bombing resulted in catastrophic destruction and loss of life in Nagasaki. The Fat Man bomb was detonated over Nagasaki. The detonation occurred at an altitude of 1,650 feet, 500 meters. The bomb's yield was equivalent to 21 kilotons of TNT. The surrounding hills had a partial effect on the blast's propagation. These hills served to contain the spread of the explosion to some extent. The topography influenced the overall impact and damage pattern of the atomic blast. The Nagasaki bombing caused immense devastation and loss of life. Estimates suggest between 40,000 and 75,000 fatalities by the end of 1945. The city's unique topography influenced the extent of the damage. Nagasaki's hilly terrain partially shielded some areas from the blast. As a result, the overall destruction was less widespread compared to Hiroshima. However, the human cost remained tragically high, marking a profound historical event. On August 10, Emperor Hirohito intervened in the Supreme War Council. The emperor decided Japan must accept the Potsdam Terms. A key condition for acceptance was the preservation of the imperial institution. This intervention marked a critical turning point in Japan's decision-making process during World War II. The emperor's decision reflected a desire to end the war while safeguarding the monarchy. The formal surrender documents were signed on the 2nd of September 1945. The signing took place aboard the USS Missouri. The location was Tokyo Bay. This event officially marked the end of World War II. The USS Missouri served as the venue for this historical moment. The surrender ceremony symbolized the Allied victory. The atomic bombings led to the emergence of radiation sickness as a significant health concern. Survivors, known as hibakusha, experienced various long-term health problems. These health issues included a higher incidence of cancers. Genetic defects were also observed among the hibakusha. Furthermore, survivors faced social stigma due to the aftermath of the bombings. The atomic bombings had devastating and lasting impacts on the health and well-being of those affected.